Shalom, everyone, and welcome back. A good Erev Shabbos to everyone. Today, of course, is the 10th of Teves, a fast day commemorating the siege of Jerusalem by the Babylonians during the times of the First Temple. It's observed as a minor fast day by Jewish people all over the world. We want to wish everyone an easy fast and a good Erev Shabbos. In this week's Torah portion, the portion of Vayigash, we find the final reunion of Yosef and his brothers as they all came together, and he revealed who he was, that he was really Yosef, not a person who that they didn't know, but rather their own brother. And it says also in the parsha that Yosef came to his brother Benjamin, and the two of them cried together. Now, the two of them had one thing in common, and that was that they both came from Rachel, from Rachel. They were the only two sons that Rachel had. So Benjamin was the youngest of all the brothers, and Yosef fell on Benjamin's neck and cried, and Benjamin fell on Yosef's neck and cried. Rashi explains, the commentary Rashi explains, what were they crying? Yosef was crying over the destruction, the future destruction of the Holy Temple, which was in the land, which was destined to be in the land of Benjamin. And Benjamin was crying over the destruction of the future temple in Shiloh, in the land of Yosef. They were each crying for each other's future tragedy, which is a very unusual thing. Why did they cry for each other's tragedy rather for their own? Why didn't Yosef cry for his own tragedy, the destruction of his temple, and Benjamin for his temple? So the Rebbe explains, Lubavitch Rebbe explains that crying is really, you don't accomplish that much by crying. Why does a person cry? A person cries because they're frustrated that there's nothing they can do. The classical example of crying is in mourning, when a person loses a close relative. Once a relative passes away, there's nothing they can do about it. They're gone. And therefore, it's a very sad, very tragic thing to do. So therefore, you cry. But you don't cry if something is in your ability to do something about it. For example, if you lose your job, you can cry over it and say, oh, my life is over. Or you can go up and do something about it, get another job or train or work on finding another job in some way. When something is within our ability, it doesn't do any good to cry over it. Crying is useless and it's a waste of time. And it steers you away from what you really should be doing, and that is something constructive and positive. I remember when we were in the process of acquiring a new synagogue for our community, and there were several projects that came to fruition, and at the last minute they failed. And it was a very big tragedy for our community, and we were very heartbroken over it. And I just felt in so many ways just to give up and to say, oh, what's the whole point of this? And it took something like 15 years finally for us to find a beautiful synagogue building that was suitable for us and that we could afford. But while those other projects failed, I was in a very sad state of crying and being sad over our loss. But it didn't accomplish anything. So soon after we um, we realized that we were losing these projects and they weren't going to happen, we got up from our bootstraps and we started looking for another building, for another project, which turned out to be the best ever. And indeed, that is how it is as well. When a person is confronted with misfortune or with difficulties or sickness or difficulties in making a living, it doesn't accomplish anything to cry. If you can't do anything about it, that's one thing. Then you go ahead and cry. But if you have the ability to work on something and to make something better, then it's worthwhile to go ahead and do it and not moan and groan and cry and do all of these types of things. So that should be a lesson for us as we are continuing throughout this difficult coronavirus period, that it seems that all is lost, everything, our way of life that we have been doing things since now is gone. We can't have guests over for Shabbos meals, and we have to keep distance from each other and wear masks and all of these types of things. And we wonder, when is life going to return to normal? Well, along comes a vaccine that has unbelievable potential, and it threatens to solve our problems and to get us back to normalcy. So, who would have ever believed that within a very short time, of several months, in fact, a vaccine could be developed that could solve all of these problems? Usually, vaccines take years to develop, but through the hard work and determination of many people, scientists throughout the world, they have accomplished it and they've done it, and it shows tremendous promise. So instead of us crying and being depressed over this virus and our situation in the virus, now there's new hope. And why is that? Because people decided not to give up. People decided not to just sit back and let the virus take its toll. And that should be a lesson for all of us as well in our lives, not to give up, work hard, and find the solution to any problems and difficulties that face us. Candlelighting tonight in San Diego is at 4:31. Today is a fast day. If you're listening to this on Friday, so services will be a little earlier, about 4:10. Today in the afternoon there is a Torah reading and a Haftorah, and the fast finishes at 5:17 p.m. I want to wish everyone a good Shabbos and a happy and easy fast.